Latin America is one of the most easy regions in the world to get second residence, and in many cases to get that second citizenship. A lot of people, when they start Googling, come across numerous options in Spanish-speaking countries where they can easily go and take a small income, a small investment, and get set up with their second residence. Now, there are some caveats to many of those programs, but in this video, I'm going to walk you through 6 different second residence options that you can qualify for today. I'm Andrew Henderson. When we say the word easy second residence, what does that mean? In the case of Latin America, I would look at 3 different easies. Easy to qualify, i.e., what is needed? Can you easily meet the requirements? Is it available to many different people? Easy to get approved. What's the process? How much time on the ground? How much running around? How much bureaucracy? And then the third one, easy to get citizenship. What's interesting about Latin American countries is they are the proverbial nations of immigrants. They are much more open than Asian countries where investment levels are often higher to get in, or European countries where it's more bureaucratic. You get the best of several different worlds in Latin America, but that doesn't mean that there are no caveats. So let's talk about 6 different countries and kind of share my thoughts. I've had personal experience with some of these. I have friends who've gone through others, and we're working on researching 1 or 2 of them right now. So the first one that comes to mind that I've talked about before is Mexico. People seem to write off Mexico in their bid to go to Guatemala or Nicaragua. There's a lot of bad press around Mexico, but quite frankly, it's such a big country. You've got so many different places you could settle. You've got so many different places you could travel around by spending your time in Mexico. And what's cool about Mexico is that it is a country where you can show proof of income. This is perhaps the easiest way to get residence in any country, is merely saying, here's my bank statements for the last 6 months or the last 12 months. Look at my high balance, or look at my income. If you earn about $1,500 a month, or if you've got about $25,000 in your account, and you can show that over the course of time, chances are you can get a residence permit in Mexico. You can go and exchange that. You can get a long-term residence permit, and then you renew that after the first year. I've done this one personally. Rather straightforward, but a bit subjective depending on which embassy you're working with. Some are more difficult than others. What's cool about Mexico is it's almost a call option residence. You can go and you can spend almost no time there the first couple years, and then if you want to eventually naturalize, you can spend the majority of your year there in the latter years. So unlike Chile, for example, where you've got to spend a chunk of time up front and that tapers down, in Mexico it's the opposite. So it gives you the opportunity to lock something in and then see how you feel about it later. Either get PR or move up to citizenship. The second country people talk about a lot, we get so many questions, is Panama. Now, if you are a US or a Canadian or an EU citizen, Australian, there's the Friendly Nations Visa Program. You've probably seen about this online, where you put $5,000 in the bank, you establish an economic tie, whether that's a company, a property, whatever, a teak plantation that guys sell at these conferences, and then you apply for residence. You get a permanent residence, and you can apply for citizenship after 5 years. Even if you're not a Friendly Nations country, even if you're someone who has a Tier B passport, you're an economic citizen, whatever, there are different options: $80,000 reforestation, $300,000 in real estate or term deposits, $160,000 in the company. Lots of options to immigrate to Panama. But the caveat is that people sell this as an easy citizenship program. And what I've seen in the last 2 or 3 years is that most people who are spending the time, even physically spending the time in Panama, which is not technically a requirement, their application for citizenship is just sitting on a desk. It's not going anywhere. I've seen personally people who've spent more than a dozen years actually living in Panama, and they're not getting the traction that they want. So if you're looking at this as some kind of easy citizenship, you're probably going to be mistaken. But there may be some residence or tax or other benefits for being able to live in Panama. The third option that I think probably doesn't get enough press is Nicaragua. I went to Nicaragua about 5 years ago for the first time, and I think it's a very interesting place. I think there's a lot of interesting things happening there. It's potentially kind of an alternative passport in that region. Nicaragua, $30,000 investment depending on how you structure it. If you do it through a business, you can do as little as $30,000. There's also a pension option in Nicaragua. You can show a pension of about $1,000 a month, a little bit less actually, I think six something, and you can move in that way. But I've seen cases where they're a bit more strict, where they want to know, okay, is this a government pension? If it's just, hey, I'm making some income, it's hit or miss. So $30,000, that's not a lot of money to play with. You get residence in Nicaragua. The interesting arbitrage for now, and what makes this potentially interesting but also potentially challenging, is that in those years leading up to citizenship, right now, the government is not enforcing, in all cases, the requirement to spend half your year there. Okay. Now, it wouldn't be a tax trigger spending half your year there. It's just something that a lot of people don't want to do. Right now, they're not enforcing that. They may renew your residence permit after the first year, even if you don't spend that much time, or they might not. And so the question is, what is going to be enforcement of that physical presence requirement, which is on the books, but often isn't enforced for now? Is that going to change? So if you're looking for a passport and you want to put the 5 years in, but you're not sure if you really want to live there, it may or may not work for you. Fourth option that I've started to see some people talking about, we've started looking into, is Peru. Peru, again, like most of these countries, has a pensionado program, a rentista program. You bring in a little bit less than $1,000 a month, I think $800 in the case of Peru, you get a residence permit. There's also an opportunity to go to school in Peru. That's an option that keeps coming up for me and talking to people is, okay, go to school, take some Spanish classes, do that, show up to some of those classes, 2 years from now potentially get citizenship. I think there's potential for abuse, potential for it to become the next Paraguay, where too many people go and they start to enforce more of the rules. But for now, Peru is relatively open. And I think that whether it's just showing you have money or showing you have, you're enrolled in class, Peru could be an interesting option. Option number 5 is Ecuador. Very interesting place. Again, another alternative citizenship. Has some of those ties with Russia. Ecuadorian citizens can go to Russia. Definitely something that is a good alternative passport for someone who's already a Westerner. And Ecuador's kind of gone back and forth on enforcing their physical presence requirement. Same thing as anyone else in the Latin American region. Show them that you have some income. Or, what I think is probably easier for someone who's younger, put $25,000 in real estate. Put $25,000 in a term deposit. That's a pretty low cost to play, quite frankly, if you're looking to get a residence. Again, same situation to Nicaragua. The government has kind of gone back and forth. You need to spend 9 months a year here. You need to spend 11 months here. You don't need to spend the time here. 3 years to citizenship in Ecuador. But again, here's the thing with easy. If the goal is just a residence, a place to live, it's part of your tax plan, where am I living, all that, then these are all pretty straightforward. If the goal is citizenship, you have to consider, what's the physical presence? What is your presence in that country going to mean when they have to make a decision on your citizenship application in 2, 3, or 5 years? I think that's the wild card. And again, it may be an interesting call option for a lot of people to just set up a couple of these and then see what happens. Because I don't think you have a 100% chance of success with many of these if the goal is citizenship, unless you're willing to commit some time there. The last option that I actually personally like a lot is in Colombia. Now, Colombia's got a lot of tax issues you want to plan around. So if you're planning on living somewhere full-time and you're running an international business, you have wealth, this may not be a great option. But if you're following my trifecta strategy, where you're living in several different places, I think Colombia is a great option in Latin America. Now, the numbers change because the numbers for immigration are based in Colombian pesos, the currency changes, it's at a relatively low amount right now. And also because the amounts are indexed to inflation. But basically, for about $23,000, you go down to Colombia, you set up a company. You don't even necessarily need to fund the company right away. And that company gets you a business visa. That business visa can eventually be renewed, and eventually you can become a permanent resident with a 10-year track to citizenship. The challenge is that you've got a very small arbitrage window in terms of actually using that business process to turn into citizenship, to where you have to be spending a substantial amount of time there, but not quite enough to where they're going to nail your entire worldwide portfolio. So if you don't want to spend time in Colombia and you do want to become a Colombian citizen, then what you're probably better off doing is going for permanent residence right away through putting about $165,000 into real estate, into a business, into something, putting that cash in the bank. Here's my proof of funds. It's going to eliminate a lot of the new requirements Colombia's come out with for actually wanting you to do business if you have a business visa in order to be renewed. And I think it's going to eliminate a lot of hassles. So while it may be among the highest price tag options here, I think it's perhaps the easiest path to citizenship, with 1 day every 2 years of physical presence, lots of good investment opportunities, good passport, And again, like Mexico, a bigger country to live where you've got different opportunities, different growth potential. It's not just some little country in Central America. So those are 6 different programs which are all relatively easy to qualify for. What you're going to find in Latin America oftentimes, and speaking from experience, is a lot of bureaucracy. People who come to me who say, I'm making 100 grand a month, Andrew, I want to go. Where can I fly in for 2 days, just file something, come back, I'm done? Latin America's not going to be for you. So as always, easy is subjective. Okay? I think that Colombia, Mexico, in my experience and what we do at Nomad Capitalist, is probably going to be the most straightforward. The other ones are probably going to be dragged out, more time in the ground, more documents to bring. That's another thing about Latin America. They love their FBI reports. They love their criminal records. You've got to bring a lot of documents. And so if your definition of easy is flying in for a day or 2, filing and never coming back, these options may not be for you. But if you're looking for something that's low cost, easy to qualify for, and open to lots of different nationalities around the world, then Latin America is probably the most open region in the world. I'm Andrew Henderson, and if you're looking for a way to legally reduce your taxes, build your freedom, and create wealth faster as a global citizen, then you've come to the right place. I want you to do 3 things right now. Number 1, click the button to subscribe to our channel. Make sure to get notifications so you never miss a new video. Number 2, get a copy of our #1 best-selling book, Nomad Capitalist, on Amazon, and learn all of the dozens of benefits of our lifestyle. And number 3, if you're already a 6 or 7-figure entrepreneur and you want to put these strategies in place, go to nomadcapitalist.com and find out how to get some help.